cold heart of mine. She really took a beating before you. You stuck through blizzards, winter nights with you. Now I'm blooming just for you, for you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today my name is Usetale. In this video I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to draft pattern for the sewing of this blazer, and these are the body measurements that I'm going to be making use of. So the first thing you're going to do is to rule a line at the top of your pattern paper, which is going to be for your starting line. Then you place your tape on that line, you measure down to the bust line, then you take the waistline, the hip line, then you take the full length of the jacket. So the full length I'm making use of is 35 inches. Now I'm going to come forward here. I'll mark the same thing, the bust line, the waistline, the hip line, then the full length of the jacket. After I'm done marking, I will connect with my straight ruler. After you are done connecting the lines, you're going to label. So here's the shoulder line, we have the bust line, this is the waistline, the hip line, then we have the full length of the blazer jacket. Now at the shoulder line, you're going to take your shoulder measurements divided by 2. So from that mark, you will come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. So here you're going to take 3 inches for your neck width, then you use your straight ruler to connect the shoulder slope just like this. So after you are done doing that, now you want to get the armhole depth, and you are going to do that by dividing your round bust measurement by 6, then you add 1.5. And whenever I do that, I have 7.5. So I just marked it. I'm going to go ahead to connect with my ruler just like this. So after connecting, you label this line the chest line. Now to get the armhole, you're going to divide what you have on this line into 2 to get half of it, which is here. So from that mark, you will go in by ½ inch. Now on the chest line, you will take your round bust measurement divided by 4. So the bust measurement I'm making use of is 36. Because it's a jacket, I added extra 2 inches. So I'm going to be making use of 38. So 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. I'm going to go ahead and mark 9.5 just like this. After marking, I'm going to connect with my curve ruler to give me the armhole. So guys, after you are done getting the armhole, now the next thing you want to get is the dart. So on the bust line, I'm going to take my nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2. I'll take the same thing on the waistline, the hip line, and the full length line. After marking, I'm going to connect the dot with my straight ruler to give me a straight line. So after you are done ruling a straight line like this, the next thing you are going to do is to create the dart. So on the bust line, you're going to mark ½ inch. Then here you also go out by ½ inch as well. So ½ inch on both sides of the line. You're going to go ahead to connect it to meet the bust line in form of a dart, just like this. So now on the hip line, you go up by 1 inch. Then go ahead and connect it the way you see me doing. So this is the dart, you can see. So after you are done doing this, now it's time to take our round body measurement. So here we already mark our bust measurement divided by 4, which is 9.5. I'm going to take away ½ inch from it, which will give me 9 inches. I'm going to mark that on the waistline. Then on the hip line, you're going to take your hip measurement divided by 4. My actual hip measurement is 40. So I will add extra 2 inches because it's a jacket. I don't want it too tight. So I will divide 42 by 4, which will give me 10.5. So on the hip line, I'm going to go ahead to mark the 10.5. Now on the last line, which is the full length line, you are going to mark the same thing, the same 10.5. Then go ahead to connect with your ruler. I'm sorry that part didn't show. I didn't know my camera was not capturing it. Now the next thing you want to do is to draw out the neckline. So the neckline of this blazer is a bit tricky. It's different from the normal blazer neckline. So we already take our neck width, which is 3 inches, and I'm going to be coming down in form of a V, as if I'm marking out a V neckline. I came down by 8 inches. So from that mark, I'll just rule a line like this. So from that line now, I'm going to go in by 1.5. You can see I marked 1.5. Then I will connect it to meet the neck width. So after connecting, this is what you're going to have it looking like. Now here you will go in by half inch, then you will connect from that half inch mark to blend with the waistline. Can you see? So just blend it out like this. Now you're going to mark it off because this half inch that we mark out, we are going to be cutting it off. We don't need it anymore. So this is it for the drafting of the front piece. I'm going to go ahead now to cut it out.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side.
After you are done cutting it out, this is what you're going to have. So go ahead and label it the front piece. So this is it for the cutting of the front piece. I'm going to go ahead now to place this pattern aside, then we draft out the back. For the drafting of the back piece, I've gone ahead to roll out the necessary lines. So here I marked 1.5 inches, which is going to be for the slit, because there's going to be a slit at the middle of the back of the jacket, okay? So here we have the shoulder line, the bust line, the waistline, the hip line, then the full length of the jacket. So on the shoulder line, you're going to take your shoulder measurements divided by 2. You come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope. You take your neck width of 3 inches, then go ahead and connect your shoulder slope. So this is a repetition of what we did before. Here I will come down by 7.5 inches, which is my armhole depth. Then I'll go ahead to connect it out just like this. So you label this line the chest line. So you're going to divide what you have here into 2 to give you half of it. From that mark, you are not going to be going in this time around, okay? So just leave that mark there like that. So here you take your bust measurements divided by 4, 9.5, which is what we are using. Then go ahead and connect your armhole just like the way you see me do, okay? So after you are done doing it like that, you're going to extend the chest line out the way you see me doing, because the dart of the back is going to get all the way to the chest line. So you take your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 on the chest line, on the waistline, on the hip line, and also on the full length line. So after doing that, you will connect with your straight ruler the way you see me doing. So after you are done doing that, on the waistline, you're going to be taking half inch on both sides of that line for you to create your dart. So after taking half inch, now you're going to connect it to meet the chest line in form of a dart. Remember, on the hip line, you go up by 1 inch, then you go ahead to connect your dart. Just like this. So after connecting the dart, on the waistline here, you're going to go in by half inch. Then you are going to connect it to meet the chest line. So this is going to help reduce any bulginess at the middle of the back, okay? So when you do this, your jacket is going to be nice. It will be looking very nice at the back. It's not going to be looking bulgy, okay? So you can see I'm marking it out because we are going to be cutting it off. Now we are going to take the round body measurement. So here we already have our bust measurement divided by 4. You're going to take out half inch from that, then you take it on the waistline. So when you are taking the measurement, make sure to start from the first line, okay? Then you take that measurement. You come to the hip line, you take your round hip measurement divided by 4, we make use of 10.5. Then you're going to take the same thing on the last line. So go ahead and take the same thing on the last line. Then you're going to connect to give you your body shape. So connect like this, then connect all the way to the hip. Then you connect it all the way to the end. So guys, after you are done doing that, for the neck depth of the back, you're going to come down by 1 inch. Then you use your curve roller to connect the small round neckline. Just like this. So after doing that, the next thing we are going to do is to mark out the slit. So for the slit, I'm going to you can choose to maintain the hip line for your slit, or you can choose to go up by extra inches. So I went up by extra 1 inch from the hip line, so I just rule it out. So that's where my slit is going to be, so I label it slit. Now this other one, this other allowances we have here, we're going to cut it off because we don't need it. So this is it for the drafting of the back. I'm going to label it, then I'll go ahead to cut it out.
And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go.
So guys, this is what you're going to have after you are done cutting it out. Now the next thing we are going to draft is the sleeve, and this is the pattern paper I'm going to be using. So the pattern paper is long enough for the length of my sleeve, and for the width I cut it out using my armhole measurement divided by 2. So armhole is 18 divided by 2 is 9, and you can see that's how wide my pattern paper is. So at the top here, I'll just rule a line for my starting line, then I'll take the length of the sleeve. So I'm making use of length of 22 inches. I marked it, then I'm going to connect it just like this. So after doing that, I'm going to get the sleeve cap. I'm going to be coming down by up to 6 inches for my sleeve cap. This is because I'm sewing a suit. If it were to be a normal sleeve, I will use 4.5 or 5 inches. But for a suit, you have to come down by up to 6 inches. Then you rule a line just like this. Now on this line, you're going to take your armhole measurement divided by 2. So my armhole is 18 divided by 2 is 9. So that 9 inches, I'm going to divide it again to get half of it. So I will have 4.5 here, 4.5 here. So from here to here, I'm going to divide it to get the midpoint. So from that midpoint, I'll go up by ½ inch. Then from here to here again, I will divide it to get the midpoint as well. So from that midpoint, I'll come down by ½ inch. So after you are done marking like that, you're just going to connect. So just use your free hand to connect like this to meet that point. Then from that point, you will connect it down to meet this point. Can you see? Then now you connect it again to meet the points at this lower end here. Then you connect all the way to this other point. So you have something looking like inverted S. So that's how you get the perfect curve for your sleeve cap. Now here, you're going to come down by about 7 inches. Then you're going to take your round arm measurement divided by 2. My round arm is 12 divided by 2 give me 6. I will mark it. So after marking, I'm going to come down to my elbow length. So my elbow length is 12.5 inches, and my round elbow is 11.5. So 11.5 divided by 2, I will mark it as well. At the end here, my wrist measurement is 9 inches divided by 2. It will give me 4.5. I will mark it as well. I'm going to use my ruler to connect it. Can you see? Connect from that point to meet the armhole. So just place your ruler in a way that you are able to connect the points together. Okay, so here I will just use my straight ruler to connect now all the way to the end. So this is what you're going to have it looking like. So this is the sleeve. I'll label the sleeve, then I'll go ahead to cut it out. So guys, after you are done cutting out the sleeve, we have successfully cut out all the patterns that we need for the sewing of the jacket. So here we have the front and the back pieces. But before we go ahead to use them to cut on fabric, I want to divide the pieces. I want to cut out the dart. So I want to divide the pieces into 2. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to measure the armhole of the front. So what I have, I will divide it into 2. So I will just mark it. So armhole divided into 2, I will mark it. So I'm going to be using my curve ruler to connect from that mark now to meet the dart. So can you see what I just did? So after doing that, now I can easily separate the pieces. So I just label the other part front piece 1, then this other part is front piece 2. Now I'm going to cut out the dart so that we can separate the pieces into 2. So it will be easier to work with it that way. Okay, so I've divided them into 2. Now we have 2 pieces for the front. I'll be doing the same thing for the back. To separate the back, I will be dividing the shoulder here into 2. So the separation of the back is going to be from the shoulder, not from the armhole. So I divided what I have on the shoulder into two, then I connected it to meet the dart. Okay, so here we have back piece 1, then here back piece 2. I'm going to go ahead now to cut out the dart. So we have 2 pieces for the back piece. So guys, this is what you're going to have. So these are the 2 back pieces. Now that I'm done cutting all the pieces the way I want them to be, so these are all the pieces. We have the 2 pieces for the back and 2 pieces for the front. Then we have the sleeve. I'm going to be using all these patterns now to cut on my fabric. So I'm just going to quickly explain to you guys all the fabrics that we are going to be needing for the sewing of the jacket. So here we have the main fabric, which is a crepe fabric. I have it to be about 2 yards. So here I have a suit lining, which is also 2 yards. And here I have stay, which is also 2 yards. Then we have the shoulder pad. So these 2 things you are seeing here are called shoulder pad. So this is going to make it look like a suit. So these are all the materials we need. I'm going to be transferring all my patterns now to this fabric. But before we cut on the fabric, I'm going to iron my stay to the main fabric before we go ahead to cut. So guys, I'm done doing that. I've ironed the stay to the fabric, folded the fabric together into two, and I placed all the patterns on it. So now it's time to cut.
Give it time. I know that I'm not easy. This cold heart of mine, she really took a beating before you. You stuck through blizzards, winter nights with you.
So guys, I'm done cutting out everything and this is what I have. I'm going to be explaining to you guys now how I cut them out. So for the sleeve, I cut 2 pieces for the actual fabric and 2 pieces for the lining fabric. So when I was cutting, I gave it 1/2 inch here for sewing allowance, 1 inch to the side, and 1.5 inches to the end for the sewing allowance. So for the lining fabric, I made it shorter, so it is about 1.5 inches shorter than the main fabric. So that's how you are going to cut it out. So here we have the front piece 1. So when I was cutting it out as well, I also cut out 2 pieces for the main bodies and 2 pieces for the lining fabric. You notice that I used the actual fabric to cut lining fabric for the front piece 1. So that's what you're supposed to do. You use the actual fabric to cut it. So you're going to give it 1/2 inch all around it for sewing allowance. As you can see at the end here, you give it 1.5 inches. So for the lining of this particular one, it is 1.5 inches shorter than the actual fabric, just the same way we did for the sleeve. Okay, so that's how you are going to cut out front piece 1. So for front piece 2, I also cut out 2 pieces for main bodies. Then I used the lining fabric to cut lining for front piece 2. You can see I gave it 1/2 inch here, and at the side here I gave it 1.5 inches, at the end 1.5 inches, and at the back you can see the lining is also 1.5 inches shorter than the actual fabric. Now for back piece 1, I did the same thing, gave it 1/2 inch all around, cut 2 pieces for the main bodies and the lining, and at the slit area here I went up by extra 2 inches. I just added extra 2 inches. Then at the end 1.5 inches, and you can see the lining is also 1.5 inches shorter. So for back piece 2, the same thing. At the side here 1.5 inches, then here also 1.5 inches, and you can see the lining is also 1.5 inches shorter than the actual fabric. So that's how you are going to cut out all the pieces. So all these pieces is what we are going to be joining together in our next video, where I'll be sharing with you guys how to sew this beautiful blazer jacket. So do what to hit on the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that when the video drops you will be notified. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.